Mississippi, a land where time hangs heavy in the air, where moss-draped oaks sway above forgotten graveyards, and the scent of magnolias mixes with the whispers of the past. This is a place of deep history, Civil War battlefields, antebellum mansions, small towns that look like they've been frozen for 100 years. But beneath its beauty lies something darker. The ghosts of lives cut short, tragedies long buried, and legends too chilling to ignore. Tonight, we'll journey deep into the haunted soul of Mississippi. 20 locations where history never truly died. These are not just places on a map. They are wounds in time, still bleeding with restless energy. Keep the lights low, the doors locked, and remember, if you hear footsteps behind you, it's already too late. King's Tavern in Natchez, Mississippi, is more than just an old building. It's a relic of the American frontier, a silent witness to centuries of human triumphs and tragedies. Built in the late 1700s, during a time when Natchez was a rough, bustling outpost along the Mississippi River, it began life as an inn and tavern, catering to travelers, merchants, and sometimes outlaws. Its thick wooden beams, brick fireplaces, and weathered floors speak of an era when survival often depended on cunning and luck, and when the line between hospitality and hostility could blur in an instant. The tavern's history is laced with the kind of stories that make the air feel heavier when you step inside. It was a gathering spot for riverboat crews, soldiers, and settlers, men and women seeking food, drink, and a place to rest in a town that was equal parts opportunity and danger. But it's not just the rough-and-tumble history of the frontier that has cemented King's Tavern in local legend. It's the haunting presence of one spirit in particular. By all accounts, she was bright, attractive, and well-liked by patrons. Unfortunately, her beauty and charm caught the attention of the tavern's married owner, sparking whispers among staff and townsfolk. Rumors suggest the two began an affair, one that did not go unnoticed by the owner's wife. In an age and place where jealousy often simmered into violence, this tension grew into something far more sinister. The details of Madeline's death have been lost to time, but the most enduring version of the story claims that the owner's wife, consumed by rage, murdered the young girl. Whether she acted alone or had help is unknown. What is certain, however, is that Madeline vanished without explanation, her absence raising suspicion among the regular patrons who had grown accustomed to seeing her. In those days, disappearances weren't uncommon, but the eerie silence surrounding Madeline's fate lingered like a cold shadow over the tavern. Decades later, in the 1930s, King's Tavern was undergoing renovations when workers made a gruesome discovery. Behind one of the tavern's large brick fireplaces, they found human remains, 3 skeletons in total. Alongside the bones was a jeweled dagger, tarnished with age, but still sharp enough to hint at its deadly purpose. One of the skeletons was believed to be that of a young woman, and many in Natchez quickly concluded that they had finally found Madeline's resting place. The other 2 skeletons remain unidentified to this day, adding another layer of mystery to the tavern's history. Since that discovery, the stories of Madeline's ghost have multiplied. Staff members have described feeling sudden cold drafts sweep through rooms where no windows are open. Patrons have watched glasses lift off shelves and crash to the floor, even when no one is nearby. Some have heard the distinct sound of a woman sobbing softly, her voice carrying through the air in the dim light of the tavern's dining area. Others speak of a faint figure glimpsed in their peripheral vision, a young woman in period clothing, her hair pulled back, her eyes searching the room as though looking for someone. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a former employee who was closing up late one night. As he moved through the tavern, blowing out candles, he heard footsteps behind him. Turning around, he saw no one. Yet the creak of the wooden floorboards continued, slowly approaching. Then, in the flicker of candlelight, he saw the shape of a woman standing near the fireplace, her face pale and unreadable. Before he could speak, she vanished into the wall where the skeletons had been found decades before. Not all of the ghostly happenings are tied directly to Madeline. Some believe the other 2 skeletons belong to victims of the violent crimes that plagued the area in its early years. Natchez, situated along the Mississippi River, was no stranger to river pirates, gamblers, and thieves. It's possible the tavern was the scene of multiple murders, its walls absorbing the echoes of those final moments. Paranormal investigators who have visited King's Tavern often report feeling a heavy, oppressive atmosphere in certain rooms. Electronic voice phenomena, AVP recordings, have captured faint whispers, some saying, "Help me," others simply sighing or humming. Despite its haunted reputation, King's Tavern remains a beloved landmark in Natchez. Visitors come for the food and drink, but many also come for the thrill of experiencing something unexplainable. On quiet evenings, when the lights are low and the hum of conversation dies down, it's easy to imagine the past bleeding into the present. The smell of old wood and faint smoke from the fireplace seems to carry with it the weight of centuries. Locals will tell you that if you sit by the fireplace long enough, you might feel a sudden chill at your back, as though someone is standing behind you. They might also warn you that if you hear the sound of a woman weeping softly in the corner, it's best not to look directly at her, because sometimes the living aren't meant to meet the gaze of the dead. The McCraven House in Vicksburg, Mississippi, stands as a frozen piece of the past, a building that wears its centuries of history like layers of skin. Known far and wide as the most haunted house in Mississippi, it has been a home, a military post, a witness to war, and now a museum where history and the supernatural seem inseparable. The house is unique in its construction, with three distinct sections built in different eras: the frontier section from 1797, the antebellum addition from 1836, and the Confederate expansion from 1849. Each edition brought new stories, new owners, and, in many cases, new tragedies. The earliest section, built in the late 18th century, is stark and simple, reflecting the rough realities of the Mississippi frontier. The wooden floors creak underfoot, and the thick walls seem to trap not just the summer heat, but also the whispers of those who once lived here. By the early 19th century, the home expanded with an elegant antebellum wing. Large windows, graceful columns, and ornate interiors meant to show wealth and refinement. But beauty, as it so often does in old houses, hid the darker truths of its residents' lives. The most enduring ghostly presence in McCraven House is said to be Mary Elizabeth Howard, a young bride who came to live here in the mid-1800s. She was just 15 when she married, and still barely a woman when she became pregnant with her first child. Tragedy struck in 1836 when she died during childbirth, along with her newborn baby. It was a devastating blow to her husband, who, according to local accounts, never recovered from the loss. Mary Elizabeth was buried on the property, but her spirit seems to have never left. Visitors and staff often speak of feeling a sudden, icy chill when passing through the rooms she once occupied. Some have felt a soft brush against their arm or shoulder, as if someone in a long skirt had just passed by. Others claim to see fleeting glimpses of her in the upper hallways, a pale figure in an antebellum gown, her hair styled in the fashion of the era, her expression unreadable. On more than one occasion, guests have reported smelling the faint scent of roses in an otherwise empty room, a fragrance Mary Elizabeth was said to favor. But she is not alone in haunting McCraven. The home's Confederate-era history is equally heavy. During the Siege of Vicksburg in 1863, McCraven House was commandeered by the Confederate Army as a field hospital and command post. The war brought blood, suffering, and death right to its doorstep. Soldiers, both wounded and dying, were carried into its rooms, and the surrounding gardens became temporary burial grounds. The toll of the siege was immense, and it left scars on the land. Scars that some believe opened the door to lingering spirits. It is in the gardens that people most often report seeing spectral soldiers. Some appear briefly before fading away into the greenery, while others are described as pacing silently, as if still standing guard. One chilling account comes from a groundskeeper who was locking up late in the evening. He glanced toward the side garden and saw a man in a tattered Confederate uniform leaning on a musket. Thinking it was a reenactor left over from a local event, the groundskeeper approached, only to watch the figure dissolve into the night air. Inside the house, The energy shifts from room to room. The antebellum wing is lighter, but tinged with sorrow, as if Mary Elizabeth's grief still lingers there. The Confederate edition carries a restless energy, with the sensation of being watched almost constant. Tour guides often speak of doors that swing open or close on their own, even when no breeze is present. Some have heard footsteps on the stairs when the building is empty, and on rare occasions, the muffled sound of voices, low, indistinct, but undeniably human. Perhaps the most unnerving modern encounter came from a longtime tour guide. On a quiet afternoon, she was walking through the house alone, preparing for a scheduled group tour. As she stepped into one of the rooms in the Confederate section, she felt a sudden, cold pressure around her hand, as if someone had reached out and gripped it tightly. The sensation was unmistakable, almost like a desperate plea for attention. She looked around the room, but no one was there. The grip loosened after a few seconds, and she was left with the lingering chill that didn't fade for several minutes. Paranormal investigators have flocked to McCraven's house for decades, and the location rarely disappoints them. Recordings have captured unexplained voices, some calling out names, others speaking in fragments. Cameras have picked up orbs, shadows, and sudden movements in empty hallways. One group claimed to have recorded a faint but distinct cry of a baby in the very room where Mary Elizabeth died, a sound that sent a shiver through even the most skeptical members of the team. Today, McCraven House serves as a museum, offering both historical and ghost tours. By daylight, it's an architectural treasure, a physical timeline of Mississippi's past. But by night, with the lights dimmed and the silence settling in, it feels like the house is breathing, its past alive, its spirits restless. Those who visit often leave with more than just a sense of history. They leave with the memory of something they can't quite explain. For those who believe in the supernatural, McCraven is a place where the veil between worlds is thin. The living and the dead seem to share the same rooms, the same staircases, the same garden paths. For skeptics, it remains an unnerving reminder that some histories refuse to stay locked in the past. And whether it's the gentle brush of a young bride's hand, the watchful eyes of a long-dead soldier, or the quiet echo of footsteps in an empty hallway, McCraven House ensures that its story, and the stories of those who linger there, will never be forgotten. Cedar Grove Mansion in Vicksburg, Mississippi, stands as one of the grandest antebellum homes in the South. Its stately white columns and sweeping balconies, a picture of elegance from another era. Built in the mid-19th century, it was originally the dream home of John Alexander Klein, a wealthy businessman who spared no expense in its construction. Every detail of the mansion's design reflected the grandeur of the Old South. High ceilings, ornate moldings, imported furnishings, and manicured gardens. But the mansion's beauty has always existed alongside a darker legacy. One that has nothing to do with architecture and everything to do with the tragedies of war. When the Civil War reached Vicksburg, Cedar Grove's peaceful existence ended abruptly in 1863, during the Union's relentless siege of the city. The mansion was transformed into a makeshift hospital. Klein's wife, Elizabeth, opened the home to the wounded, and the spacious rooms that once hosted elegant parties became crowded wards filled with the groans of injured soldiers. The smell of gunpowder and blood replaced the scent of flowers from the garden, and the soft strains of music were drowned out by cries for help. It is said that the floors of Cedar Grove bore the weight of men on the brink of death, their final breaths exhaled under the same roof where others once toasted to prosperity. Surgeons worked long hours in candlelit rooms, using whatever tools they could find, while nurses carried buckets of water and supplies from room to room. Medicinal alcohol, strong, sharp, and burning, was used to clean wounds and numb pain, leaving its acrid scent lingering in the air long after the war ended. Today, Cedar Grove is a luxury inn, but the ghosts of its past seem unwilling to leave. Guests who stay overnight often report strange and unexplainable happenings. Doors that were securely closed will creak open on their own, as if pushed by an unseen hand. Footsteps echo in empty hallways, slow and deliberate, the kind of measured pacing one might expect from a doctor making rounds or a soldier standing guard. Some guests have even claimed to hear faint voices, quiet conversations in the distance, only to find themselves entirely alone when they go to investigate. One of the most distinctive paranormal experiences at Cedar Grove is the sudden and unexplained scent of medicinal alcohol. Visitors describe it as strong and unmistakable, the same sharp odor used by Civil War-era medics. It will drift into a room without warning. More than one guest has encountered this phenomenon in rooms that once served as operating areas during the siege, as if the hospital still lingers just out of sight. Among the mansion's many ghost stories, one stands out above the rest: the figure of a man in a Confederate uniform who is often seen pacing the balcony. He appears as solid as any living person at first glance, a soldier in full dress with a solemn expression, walking back and forth as though deep in thought or scanning the horizon. Witnesses say he moves with purpose, his boots making no sound on the wooden boards. Then, just as suddenly as he appears, he vanishes into the night air, leaving behind only the faint rustle of the magnolia trees below. Some believe this spectral soldier was once a patient at Cedar Grove who never recovered from his wounds. Others think he may have been a guard assigned to protect the mansion during the war, still carrying out his duty more than a century later. Whatever his story, his presence is one of the most frequently reported, so much so that staff members have given up trying to count how many guests have seen him. Employees of the inn have their own share of unsettling encounters. Housekeepers have found beds disturbed in empty rooms and heard the sound of furniture moving when no one else is present. One worker swears she saw a shadow pass across the hall in the bright light of day, only to realize there was no one there to cast it. Another employee, locking up late one evening, heard footsteps following her down the hallway. She turned quickly, expecting to see a coworker, but the corridor was empty from end to end. For paranormal investigators, Cedar Grove is a treasure trove of unexplained activity. EVP, electronic voice phenomena. Recordings have captured faint whispers, some sounding like medical terms from the 19th century, others simply murmuring unintelligible words. Cameras have caught orbs drifting through the air in rooms where the scent of alcohol was reported just moments before. Some visitors have even claimed to feel a sudden, icy hand on their shoulder while standing near the balcony, as if the Confederate soldier is still there, watching over the mansion. Yet for all its ghostly reputation, Cedar Grove retains a warmth and elegance that draws people back again and again. By day, the sunlight pours through its tall windows, illuminating polished floors and antique furniture. The gardens bloom with color, and the air smells of jasmine and fresh-cut grass. But by night, when the house settles into silence and the lights grow dim, the atmosphere changes. The weight of its history presses in, and it is easy to imagine the rooms, once more, filled with the hushed urgency of battlefield medicine. Whether one believes in spirits or not, there is no denying that Cedar Grove Mansion carries the echoes of its past. The footsteps, the opening doors, the phantom scents, all seem to hint that the home is still tending to its long-ago patients. And perhaps, in some way, it is. For the wounded soldiers who drew their last breaths within these walls, Cedar Grove may still be the place where they wait, watching the living pass through their old haunts, and reminding us that history is never truly silent. Roanoke, nestled among the towering cedar and magnolia trees in Oxford, Mississippi, is more than just a former home of Nobel Prize-winning author William Faulkner. It is a living monument to Southern literature, a place where the air feels thick with both creativity and mystery. Built in the 1840s, this stately Greek revival house was already steeped in history long before Faulkner purchased it in 1930. Over the decades, it became not just his residence, but also his sanctuary, a place where he penned some of his most famous works, often secluding himself for days at a time with nothing but his thoughts, his typewriter, and the quiet hum of the surrounding gardens. From the moment one steps onto the property, Roanoke radiates a sense of timelessness. The long, tree-lined driveway feels like a portal into another century. The white columned house rises ahead, dignified yet inviting, its walls holding the echoes of nearly 200 years of life. Inside, much of the home has been preserved as it was during Faulkner's lifetime. Books stacked neatly in his study, handwritten outlines still visible on the walls of his office, and the old typewriter resting as though waiting for him to return. Faulkner lived here until his death in 1962, and many believe that part of him never left. Visitors and staff alike have reported strange, unexplained occurrences that seem tied directly to the man himself. Perhaps the most famous phenomenon is the sound of his typewriter clicking late at night. The rhythmic tapping of keys can be heard coming from his office, even though the machine has not been used in decades. On quiet evenings, the sound seems to drift through the halls, as if Faulkner is still hard at work, crafting his next masterpiece. Some who have heard the phantom typing claim it carries a sense of urgency, as though the writer is racing against an invisible deadline. Others describe it as steady and deliberate, the patient work of a man lost in his own imagination. Attempts to explain the noise, from settling wood to the scurrying of small animals, have never fully satisfied those who've experienced it firsthand. To them, it is unmistakably the sound of a typewriter, alive in a house where its owner's words have never truly gone silent. Roanoke's ghostly lore extends beyond the walls of the house. The gardens surrounding the home are as much a part of its story as the building itself. Faulkner was known to take long walks through the grounds, often with a cigarette in hand, using the solitude to think through his plots and characters. In recent decades, multiple visitors have claimed to see a shadowy figure strolling the same paths. He appears as a tall man in a light shirt and slacks, moving slowly and deliberately, his form half-shrouded in the dappled light beneath the trees. In some accounts, a faint orange glow, like the tip of a lit cigarette, can be seen near his hand. When approached, the figure always vanishes. One former groundskeeper recalled an unsettling encounter on a misty morning. As he made his way toward the main house, he spotted a man leaning casually against a tree near the garden's edge, watching him. The man took a slow drag from a cigarette before stepping forward and disappearing into the fog. When the groundskeeper reached the spot, there were no footprints, no lingering heat from the cigarette, only the heavy silence of the early morning inside the house. Visitors have reported other strange sensations. The feeling of being watched in the study, sudden drops in temperature in the hallways, and the faint rustle of paper when no windows are open. In Faulkner's bedroom, some have felt the corner of the bed depress, as though someone had just sat down. A few have even seen the imprint remain for several seconds before slowly fading away. Staff members at Roanoke tend to speak of these occurrences with a mix of respect and affection. They say that if Faulkner's spirit truly lingers here, it is not in anger or unrest, but simply because this was the place he loved most. The house was his refuge from the outside world, a place where his imagination could run free. It was here that he constructed the fictional Yoknapatawpha County, weaving its complex tapestry of characters and events. And it was here that he found the solitude necessary to create. Paranormal investigators who have visited Roanoke have recorded faint voices during EVP sessions, some of which seem to whisper words related to Faulkner's novels. Others have detected unexplained electromagnetic readings in the study and garden areas, as if the energy of creation still lingers in the spaces where he once worked. Even those who have never experienced anything supernatural often speak of the house's palpable atmosphere. It is not just a historic home. It feels alive in a way that is hard to define. Perhaps it is the enduring presence of Faulkner's work, still read and celebrated around the world, that makes his home feel inhabited. Or perhaps it is the man himself, still walking the gardens at night, still sitting at his typewriter, still weaving stories in the quiet hours when the rest of the world sleeps. For those who visit, Roanoke offers more than a glimpse into the life of one of America's greatest authors. It offers the possibility, however faint, that creativity, passion, and memory can leave an imprint so strong that it transcends death. And for those who wander the gardens after sunset, or pause outside the study door when the air is still, it offers the chance to hear the faint click of keys in the darkness, reminding them that some stories never truly end. In the rolling countryside near Port Gibson, Mississippi, the skeletal remains of the Windsor ruins rise against the horizon like ghostly sentinels from another age. Towering Corinthian columns, weathered but still standing tall, are all that remain of what was once the most magnificent mansion in the state. Built in 1861 by Smith Coffey Daniel II, the mansion was a marvel of its time, a sprawling 4-story structure with 23 rooms, elaborate ironwork balconies, and an observation deck that offered sweeping views of the Mississippi River. It was the kind of home that seemed destined to become an enduring landmark, a symbol of Southern grandeur. But fate had other plans. Windsor's story began with wealth and promise, yet tragedy struck almost immediately. Smith Coffey Daniel II died of yellow fever just weeks after the mansion's completion, never fully enjoying the splendor he had envisioned. The home passed to his widow, Catherine Daniel, who maintained the estate through the turbulent years of the Civil War. During the conflict, Windsor was spared destruction when Union forces occupied it, using it as a hospital and observation post. Soldiers came and went, wounded men were treated within its grand walls, and for a brief time, Windsor's beauty stood defiant against the chaos of war. For nearly 3 decades after the Civil War, the mansion remained in the Daniel family. Then, in 1890, disaster struck in the most unexpected way. A careless guest. Accounts vary as to whether it was from a dropped cigarette or a lit cigar, set off a fire that consumed the home in a matter of hours. The towering columns stood firm, but everything else was lost to the flames. What had once been a vibrant, opulent residence was reduced to charred debris, leaving only the skeletal pillars as a haunting monument to what had been today. Those columns are more than architectural relics. They are the bones of a building that refuses to fade entirely from memory. The ruins exude an eerie stillness, and visitors often report feeling watched as they walk among the pillars. The air carries a heavy silence, broken only by the whisper of wind through the surrounding trees. And some say the silence hides more than just history. It hides spirits that linger. The most famous of these spectral presences is the Lady in White. Descriptions vary, but most accounts depict her as a tall, slender figure, her form wrapped in a flowing, luminous gown that seems to shimmer in the moonlight. She is often seen gliding silently between the columns, her pace unhurried, her face pale and unreadable. Some witnesses claim she appears only when the air is thick with mist, her presence blending almost seamlessly with the fog that rolls across the Mississippi countryside. Those who have encountered her tell strikingly different stories about her purpose. Some believe she is Catherine Daniel herself, forever mourning the loss of her beloved home and the husband who died so soon after it was built. Others think she is a young woman who perished in the fire, searching endlessly for loved ones who could not escape the blaze. A few even claim she is a guardian spirit, her glowing form a warning to trespassers who wander too close at night. In these versions of the tale, those who ignore her presence are said to feel a sudden drop in temperature, followed by an unshakable sense of dread that drives them from the ruins. In addition to the Lady in White, there are reports of other strange occurrences. Some visitors have heard faint strains of music, as though a long-forgotten ball were taking place just beyond the veil of the present. Others have described the sound of footsteps crunching over gravel when no one else is around, or a faint, lingering scent of smoke in the air on windless nights. The same acrid smell that might have filled the air the night the mansion burned. Local lore even suggests that Union soldiers who once occupied Windsor during the war have left their mark. A few visitors have claimed to glimpse shadowy figures in military uniforms, their outlines blurred and indistinct, as though they were fading from view even as they are seen. These apparitions never seem to interact with the living, instead moving with single-minded purpose, as if retracing the steps they took over 150 years ago. For many, the Windsor ruins are more than just an archaeological site. They are a place where history and legend are bound tightly together. The columns, rising in isolation against the sky, seem to hold the memories of every life that passed through the mansion, every joy and tragedy that unfolded there. Standing among them, it's easy to imagine the grand halls filled with laughter and music, or the frantic chaos on the night of the fire. It's equally easy to believe that not all of Windsor's residents have left. whether one visits for the history, the architecture, or the hope of encountering something otherworldly. The Windsor ruins leave an indelible impression. By day, they are a striking testament to the passage of time, to the fragility of even the grandest human creations. By night, when the moon casts long shadows across the broken stone and the air turns cool and still, they become something else entirely. A place where the past feels dangerously close, and where a luminous figure in white may be waiting, silently watching, among the pillars. The Duff Green Mansion in Vicksburg, Mississippi, stands as a testament to the turbulence and tragedy of the Civil War. The mansion originally reflected Southern grandeur, wide porches, tall columns, and spacious rooms filled with elegant furnishings. Its walls were meant to shelter family gatherings, elegant parties, and quiet afternoons on the balcony overlooking the Mississippi River. Yet, with the arrival of war, those walls became a place of suffering and death, absorbing pain and grief in a way that continues to echo through the centuries. During the siege of Vicksburg in 1863, the mansion was requisitioned as a makeshift hospital. Soldiers wounded in battle, some barely clinging to life, were brought into the grand halls. The polished floors, once pristine and gleaming, became slick with blood. Doctors and nurses worked tirelessly, often under candlelight or with the dim glow of oil lamps, performing surgeries with the limited tools and knowledge of the time. The sharp temps of alcohol, used to clean wounds and sterilize instruments, mixed with the coppery scent of blood, creating an atmosphere of urgency and dread. Visitors to the Duff Green Mansion today report that these harrowing moments from the past have left an imprint that cannot be erased. Many claim to hear the agonized cries of soldiers echoing through the hallways at night, as if the mansion itself is unwilling to forget the suffering that occurred within its walls. Some hear low, desperate moans, or the sudden, sharp scream of a man in pain, only to find the rooms empty and silent when they search for the source. The sound of surgical tools is another frequent report. Guests and staff alike have described hearing metallic clinks and clatters, the unmistakable noise of scalpels, forceps, and hammers striking bone or metal. The sounds are often accompanied by a cold draft, and those who experience them report a sudden chill, as though someone has passed directly through the room. Many theorize that the spirits of the surgeons, bound to the mansion by their tireless work and the traumatic scenes they witnessed, continued to practice their craft in the afterlife, tending to soldiers who never found peace. Perhaps the most unsettling presence reported is that of a nurse, seen gliding silently through the hallways and patient rooms. Witnesses describe her as wearing the traditional uniform of a Civil Warrior nurse, her face calm but sad, her movements purposeful and deliberate. She is often spotted bending over empty beds, appearing to care for patients who are not there, her hands moving as if dressing wounds or offering comfort. Several visitors claim to have felt a sudden brush against their arm, a chill from her passing, or the unmistakable sensation of being observed while she tended to invisible patients. Some guests have reported seeing full apparitions of soldiers in the mansion. They appear pale and gaunt, their uniforms tattered and bloodstained, their expressions hollow and haunted. These figures often linger near the rooms where patients were treated, sometimes disappearing when approached, other times fading slowly into the walls, as if returning to the past. One visitor recounted walking down a corridor only to see a soldier sitting on a chair at the end of the hall, his head bowed and hands folded, staring at the floor. Moments later, he was gone, leaving nothing but the faint metallic scent of iron in the air. In addition to visual and auditory phenomena, the mansion's atmosphere itself seems charged with the weight of history. Many who enter the Duff Green Mansion describe a sensation of heaviness, an oppressive energy that settles over the house. Shadows seem to move with intent, corners appear darker than they should be, and some have even experienced sudden drops in temperature that make the hair on their arms stand on end. Objects left on tables or shelves are sometimes found moved, as if touched by unseen hands, reinforcing the feeling that the house is still alive with the echoes of its past. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the mansion, conducting overnight vigils and recording EVP sessions in an attempt to capture the voices of the dead. Some claim to have caught faint whispers calling out names or murmuring incomprehensible phrases, while others have detected mysterious orbs of light hovering near the ceilings and hallways. The recordings are said to pick up sounds that no modern device should be able to produce, like the clanging of surgical instruments or the moans of the wounded. The mansion's gardens, once a place of leisure and beauty, have also become part of the haunted landscape. Visitors walking the grounds at night sometimes see fleeting shadows moving between trees, or hear the distant echo of marching feet, as though soldiers are returning to the mansion. Others report hearing soft, anguished singing, perhaps the ghostly memories of men longing for home or lost comrades. Despite the fear it evokes, the Duff Green Mansion remains a place of fascination and historical significance. Tourists come not just to witness the supernatural, but to walk the halls where history was written in blood and sacrifice. The house serves as a reminder of the human cost of war, the fragility of life, and the persistence of memory. The ghostly phenomena that continue to be reported are not just stories. They are the residual traces of trauma, echoing across time, insisting that the past cannot be forgotten. For those who stay late into the night, the mansion becomes more than a historic site. It becomes a bridge between the living and the dead. The cries of soldiers, the clatter of surgical tools, the presence of a devoted nurse moving silently through empty halls, all combine to create an atmosphere of palpable history and lingering sorrow. The Duff Green Mansion reminds us that some places are never truly empty, that the walls of a house can absorb not just sound and light, but the very essence of human suffering. Walking through its hallways, it is easy to imagine the scenes that unfolded during those fateful years. The wounded brought in, the surgeons working tirelessly, the nurses offering comfort in the midst of despair. The ghosts of Duff Green Mansion are not merely figments of imagination. They are echoes of lives lived, struggles endured, and the indelible mark of war that refuses to fade. And in every creak of a floorboard, every sudden chill, every distant moan, the mansion quietly insists that its history and its spirits will never be forgotten. The Natchez City Cemetery, perched on a hill overlooking the Mississippi River, is one of the oldest and most haunting burial grounds in the South. Established in the early 19th century, it is the final resting place for thousands of souls. From Civil War soldiers to prominent local citizens, each grave marked by headstones, obelisks, or ornate statues, amid the solemn beauty of its winding paths and moss-draped trees. One monument stands apart from all the others: the grave of the turning angel. Unlike the other markers, this statue is said to possess a life of its own, drawing visitors not just for its artistry, but for the legends that surround it. The statue depicts a female angel, carved in white marble, her wings outstretched in a pose of sorrow and vigilance. Her face is serene yet commanding, her eyes seemingly aware of everything happening around her. The pedestal bears no name or date, leaving her origin shrouded in mystery. Locals whisper that she watches over the cemetery in a way that transcends the ordinary, protecting the dead while haunting the living. Stories of the angel's unnatural behavior have persisted for decades, capturing the imagination of ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and historians alike. Visitors often report that the angel's gaze is unnerving even in daylight. Her eyes, dark and piercing in their marble sockets, seem to follow each person who walks past, no matter where they stand. Some claim that the sensation grows stronger as the sun sets, when shadows stretch across the cemetery and the air becomes still. A few bold tourists have attempted to move around behind the statue, hoping to catch a glimpse of a trick of perspective, only to find the feeling of being watched intensify, as if the angel is aware of their very thoughts. The legend becomes far stranger after nightfall. Many who have wandered the cemetery during late hours report seeing subtle changes in the angel's position. One witness described arriving just before dusk, finding the angel's head turned slightly to the left. An hour later, as darkness fell, the angel's head was pointed directly toward the witness, though no one else had entered the cemetery to move it. Another visitor claimed to see the statue's eyes glint as if catching the faint moonlight, following their every step along the path. Even more unsettling, are the accounts of the angel leaving her pedestal entirely. Several people have sworn to witness the statue stepping down, her marble feet touching the ground with a soft, impossible grace. She is said to glide silently between the graves, pausing occasionally to look upon other monuments or to glance at a visitor. Those who have seen this phenomenon describe a sense of awe and dread, an overwhelming feeling that the boundary between the living and the dead has blurred. The angel seems neither hostile nor benevolent, simply present, a sentinel watching over the cemetery in her own mysterious way. Some theories suggest the angel was crafted with unusual skill, capturing the lifelike qualities of motion and attention so precisely that human perception interprets it as movement. Others, however, are less skeptical, insisting that the statue is a manifestation of restless energy, perhaps bound to the cemetery by the souls of those it was meant to watch over. Paranormal enthusiasts who visit Natchez City Cemetery often set up cameras and recording devices, hoping to capture evidence of the angel's nightly wanderings. Many claim to have captured orbs, strange lights, or even faint shadows moving independently of the statue. Though skeptics argue these could be explained by mist, insects, or reflective surfaces, eyewitness accounts describe more than just movement. Some report feeling sudden chills when standing near the angel, or an almost magnetic pole that makes it difficult to leave the area. One visitor recounted sitting on a nearby bench, reading the inscriptions on surrounding graves, when she felt a light touch on her shoulder. Turning, she saw nothing, yet the sensation left her trembling, convinced that the angel had been present beside her. Others have noted faint whispers, soft enough to be mistaken for the wind, as if the statue itself is murmuring secrets meant only for those who linger too long. The angel's legend is further enriched by the cemetery's history. Natchez City Cemetery has witnessed centuries of life and death, from epidemics to battlefield casualties, its graves marking the triumphs and tragedies of a community. It is easy to imagine the angel as a guardian, keeping watch over the countless souls interred there. Some suggest that her wandering is not a threat, but a protective measure, ensuring that the restless dead remain undisturbed by the living who enter the cemetery after dark. Others warn that she is a harbinger of warning, appearing to those who disrespect the sanctity of the graves or linger too long for reasons not solely of curiosity. Local lore includes cautionary tales of those who encountered the angel and ignored the warnings. A few accounts describe people leaving the cemetery in a panic after feeling an unseen force following them, hearing footsteps echoing their own, or seeing the angel turn sharply to glare before vanishing entirely. The stories share a common thread. The angel's attention is inescapable. Once she notices someone, there is no mistaking her awareness. Despite the fear her presence evokes, the turning angel has become an iconic part of Natchez City Cemetery. Historians appreciate her for her artistry, while paranormal enthusiasts are drawn by the mysteries surrounding her movements. Even casual visitors, unaware of the legend, often feel the inexplicable sensation that something is watching them. The angel's silent vigilance, combined with the history etched into every stone in the cemetery, creates an atmosphere where the line between the living and the dead feels almost imperceptibly thin. For those who wander among the graves at night, the experience is unforgettable. The moonlight casts elongated shadows across the tombstones, and the air carries the weight of centuries. In this quiet, otherworldly setting, it is easy to imagine the angel stepping from her pedestal, her glowing eyes scanning the rows of headstones, moving softly among the dead, and briefly acknowledging the living before returning to her eternal vigil. The turning angel is more than a statue. She is a reminder that some monuments are not merely crafted from stone, but are infused with the lingering presence of the past, watching, waiting, and turning, long after the living have gone. Waverly Mansion, located near West Point, Mississippi, is a grand antebellum plantation house that has stood since the 1850s. Known for its Greek Revival architecture, sprawling verandas, and elegant interiors, the mansion once reflected the wealth and prominence of the family who built it. Its wide hallways, towering ceilings, and polished floors were designed for both function and beauty, offering a glimpse into the lifestyle of a bygone era. Yet, beneath the stately elegance of Waverly Mansion lies a more mysterious and haunting presence. The spirit of a young girl who is said to linger in the halls, filling the rooms with echoes of laughter and playful energy. The legend surrounding Waverly Mansion revolves around this child, believed to have died tragically within the home. Historical records are unclear about the exact circumstances of her death, but the stories passed down suggest that she was a lively, joyful girl whose spirit could not be contained even after her passing. Guests and staff have long reported strange occurrences, most notably the sound of a child's laughter echoing through empty rooms. The laughter is often light and carefree, carrying a sense of innocence that contrasts sharply with the mansion's quiet, historic atmosphere. Those who hear it describe a chill running down their spine, as if the sound is both a reminder of life long gone and a lingering energy that refuses to fade. Perhaps the most commonly reported phenomenon involves the sound of a ball bouncing through the hallways. Visitors have recounted hearing the unmistakable thump of a toy rolling across the polished floors, seemingly moving with intent. Sometimes the ball appears to bounce from one hallway to another, pausing momentarily as if the girl were considering where to take her play next. In certain accounts, guests have watched in awe as the ball rolls toward a room or disappears behind a corner, only to reappear elsewhere moments later. The sensation is eerie, yet oddly comforting, as though the child's playful spirit continues to inhabit the mansion, bringing a sense of life to its historic walls. Several staff members have described more direct encounters. A housekeeper recalled walking through the upper hallway late one evening when she felt the light brush of a hand against her arm. Turning quickly, she glimpsed a small figure out of the corner of her eye. A young girl dressed in period clothing, her expression calm and observant. When she blinked, the figure was gone, leaving only the faint sound of laughter echoing down the hall. Other staff have reported seeing fleeting shadows in rooms that were otherwise empty, or noticing objects slightly moved, as if the girl had been playing unseen games. The mansion's energy seems particularly active in the evening or at night, when the house settles into quiet stillness. Temperature fluctuations are commonly reported, with sudden cold spots appearing in hallways or near certain rooms. Some guests have felt an almost magnetic pull toward particular corners of the mansion, a sensation that many attribute to the lingering presence of the young girl. The experiences are rarely described as threatening. Instead, they carry a sense of curiosity and playful innocence, as though the child is inviting visitors to notice her world, even if only briefly. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to Waverly Mansion, intrigued by the combination of historical significance and reported activity. Audio recordings often capture faint giggles, the rolling sound of a ball, or soft footsteps that cannot be attributed to any living person, while skeptics suggest that the sounds could be the result of acoustics or imagination. The consistency of eyewitness accounts over decades lends credibility to the mansion's reputation as one of Mississippi's most haunted historic homes. The reports from visitors, combined with the mansion's preserved architecture and storied past, create an atmosphere where history and the supernatural seem inseparably intertwined. Despite the eerie undertones, many who encounter the young spirit leave with a sense of warmth and nostalgia. The child's presence is often perceived as a gentle reminder of the passage of time and the lives that once filled Waverly Mansion. The laughter, the playful movement of a ball, and the fleeting glimpses of a small figure in period attire give the mansion a life that extends beyond its historical significance. It is as though the mansion itself has absorbed the essence of the child, preserving her joy and energy long after her physical presence ended. For those who wander Waverly Mansion's hallways at dusk or in the quiet of evening, it is easy to imagine the young girl playing unseen games, her laughter echoing through the rooms, her ball bouncing along polished floors. The mansion, grand and imposing by day, becomes a space alive with memory and spirit. Waverly Mansion is not merely a relic of antebellum history. It is a place where the past feels present, where the energy of a child's life continues to ripple through the corridors, ensuring that the mansion remains a living, breathing witness to both history and the supernatural. The Monmouth Historic Inn, nestled in the historic city of Natchez, Mississippi, stands as a testament to antebellum grandeur and the layered history of the American South. Quitman was a man of influence, serving as a brigadier general in the Mexican-American War and later as governor of Mississippi. Known for his commanding presence, stern demeanor, and unwavering discipline, Quitman left a lasting impression on all who encountered him, and it is said that his presence lingers within the walls of Monmouth long after his death. Today, Monmouth operates as an elegant inn, welcoming visitors with its polished floors, grand staircases, and sweeping verandas. Guests are drawn to the property for its architecture, its rich history, and its reputation for hospitality. Yet many quickly discover that there is more to Monmouth than its beauty and charm. Numerous reports of paranormal activity suggest that General Quitman has never truly left his home. Guests and staff alike have experienced unexplainable phenomena, from the subtle feeling of being watched to full visual encounters with a figure matching the General's appearance. One of the most commonly reported experiences involves sightings of a tall man in period attire, often near windows or along the upper hallways. Witnesses describe a figure standing rigidly, his posture impeccable, surveying the grounds outside with a stern, watchful gaze. Those who have seen him claim that, for a brief moment, they feel as if the general is evaluating their presence, silently judging their intentions. Then, almost imperceptibly, he disappears, leaving only a faint sense of vigilance in the air. Some visitors insist that this apparition exudes authority. The inn's staff have shared numerous accounts of more interactive phenomena. Doors occasionally open and close on their own, sometimes gently, other times with a sudden force that startles even seasoned employees. Footsteps echo along the hallways when no one else is present, often matching the rhythmic cadence of military training. As if the general is still patrolling his home, staff members have reported cold spots in rooms and hallways where the temperature suddenly drops, leaving a lingering chill that seems to follow them through the mansion. Some have even felt the sensation of being touched or guided, a subtle pressure that suggests an unseen presence moving nearby. Visitors often recount the unnerving experience of exploring the mansion at night. In the quiet hours, the combination of dim lighting, creaking floors, and the weight of history amplifies the eerie sensation that someone unseen is watching. One guest described standing near a window overlooking the gardens when he noticed a figure at the far end of the hall. The apparition stood perfectly still, staring outward, and seemed almost to embody the general's former vigilance. As the visitor watched, the figure vanished, leaving the room silent except for the faint whisper of the wind. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to Monmouth, intrigued by the consistent reports of supernatural activity. Using audio and video equipment, they have captured unexplained shadows, sudden temperature fluctuations, and even faint, disembodied voices. Some recordings appear to pick up footsteps, murmurs, or the soft creaking of doors opening without explanation. While skeptics often cite acoustics, old construction, or imagination as potential causes, the sheer volume of consistent accounts over decades has solidified Monmouth's reputation as one of Mississippi's most haunted historic sites. Interestingly, encounters with the general are rarely described as hostile. The presence is most often interpreted as watchful rather than threatening. Guests frequently report a sense of being overseen, a mixture of authority and respect that aligns with General Quitman's historical persona. Those who experience these moments often feel an unspoken invitation to honor the mansion's history, to move with care through its halls, and to recognize the weight of the lives and events once contained within its walls. The history of Monmouth enriches its spectral reputation. It witnessed countless gatherings, decisions, and events that shaped the region. The mansion's architecture, from its grand staircases to its expansive windows, reflects both elegance and vigilance, qualities mirrored in the reports of those who sense Quitman's presence. Visitors are reminded that Monmouth is not only a relic of the past, but also a living connection to it, where the spirit of its former owner continues to exert influence long after his death. For those who explore Monmouth after dusk, The experience is especially memorable. Shadows stretch across the polished floors. The wind whispers through the open windows, and the mansion itself seems to hum with the echoes of history. The figure of General Quitman may appear at a window, standing perfectly still, watching over the grounds as he did in life. Footsteps may echo from empty hallways. Doors may swing on their own, and the air may carry a sudden chill. In these moments, the line between past and present feels thin, as though the mansion itself has become a bridge connecting the living with the vigilant spirit of a man who once called Monmouth home. Monmouth Historic is more than just a historic site or a place to stay. It is a portal to the past, a living monument to both Southern history and the mysteries that linger within it. Guests leave with more than memories of architecture and gardens. They carry with them an experience of presence, an encounter with a figure from history who refuses to fade. Still watching, still patrolling, and forever bound to the halls of Monmouth. Vicksburg National Military Park, located in the heart of Mississippi, preserves the site of one of the most pivotal and blood-soaked battles of the American Civil War. The Siege of Vicksburg, which lasted from May 18 to July 4, 1863, was a brutal campaign that left thousands dead or wounded, transforming the city and surrounding countryside into a landscape of devastation. Today, the park serves as both a historical landmark and a memorial, with cannons, monuments, and preserved earthworks marking the locations where soldiers once fought and fell. Yet for many visitors, the park is more than a place of history. It is a location where the past seems to linger, where echoes of battle refuse to fade, and where the spirits of those who perished continue to haunt the land. Those who walk the park's sprawling grounds often report sensations that defy explanation. On quiet mornings or misty evenings, some have claimed to hear the distant roar of cannon fire, even though the guns have been silent for over a century. The sound is sudden, thunderous, and chillingly realistic, echoing across the hills as if the siege were unfolding once more. Accompanying the cannon fire are often the sharp cracks of rifles and the distant shouts of officers and soldiers, carried on the wind in a way that seems to originate from no visible source. Visitors report their hearts racing as the sounds reverberate through the park, feeling as though they have stepped back into the chaos of 1863. Disembodied voices are another common occurrence. Many have heard soldiers calling for comrades, pleading for help, or issuing commands, their words faint but distinct. Some claim to hear these voices in areas where no other visitors are present, adding to the chilling effect. One couple on a guided evening tour recounted standing near a preserved trench when they distinctly heard a soldier call out, "Hold the line," followed by the shuffle of marching feet. When they looked around, no one was in sight. Yet the echoes seemed to persist for several minutes, fading gradually into the mist that blankets the park at night. The mist itself seems to act as a veil between the living and the dead. Many witnesses have reported seeing shadowy figures moving among the monuments, often appearing as soldiers in period uniforms. These apparitions are fleeting, usually seen at the edge of vision, and vanish when approached. Some have observed soldiers standing silently on ridges, staring across the battlefield as though surveying the scene, only to dissolve into thin air moments later. Their presence is described as solemn and almost sorrowful, a reminder of lives lost and battles fought. Visitors walking the park's preserved trenches and earthen fortifications often describe sudden drops in temperature, a cold chill that seems to settle around them without warning. Some have felt a subtle tug at clothing or a brush of air that suggests someone has passed by, yet no one is visible. Others report hearing footsteps echoing across the empty fields, matching their own pace as if invisible soldiers are marching alongside them. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates an immersive experience that is at once terrifying and awe-inspiring, making the history of Vicksburg feel immediate and hauntingly alive. In addition to phantom soldiers and cannon fire, some visitors have reported more intimate encounters. Ghostly figures have been seen tending to the wounded, carrying stretchers, or crouching beside fallen comrades. These spectral images often appear near preserved hospital sites within the park, their movements precise and purposeful, as if replaying moments from that long-ago summer. Many who witness these apparitions describe an overwhelming sense of sadness, as though the spirits are trapped in the perpetual memory of their suffering. Some say they can feel the weight of grief and exhaustion radiating from the figures, an emotional residue left by the horrors of war. Paranormal investigators and historians alike have long been intrigued by the activity at Vicksburg. EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, have captured faint cries, commands, and murmurs in locations where no modern sources exist. Photographs taken at the park occasionally reveal unexplained orbs of light or faint figures that vanish when observers approach, while skeptics attribute these occurrences to natural elements, wind, fog, or light refraction. Many witnesses insist that what they have experienced cannot be explained by ordinary means. The consistency of reports across decades, and from both casual visitors and seasoned investigators, lends credence to the notion that Vicksburg's battlefields are charged with lingering energy. Even guided tours, which emphasize the historical significance of the park, often recount tales of paranormal encounters. Guides describe sections of the park where equipment suddenly malfunctions, cameras fail inexplicably, or the sensation of being watched is nearly overwhelming. Some guides themselves report hearing the shuffle of boots, distant bugle calls, or the creak of cannons being maneuvered, all when no living human is present. For many, these experiences enhance the connection to history, allowing visitors to sense the sacrifices and struggles that unfolded across the fields more vividly than any textbook or plaque could convey. The haunting at Vicksburg National Military Park is not limited to a single location. From the ridges overlooking the Mississippi River to the sunken trenches carved into the hillsides, the presence of the past seems to permeate every corner. It is as though the battle, with all its fury and tragedy, has left an indelible imprint on the land itself, a memory so powerful that it refuses to fade. Visitors often leave the park with a lingering sense of awe, reverence, and an unsettling awareness that they have walked among echoes of the dead. For those who experience the park after dusk or on fog-laden mornings, Vicksburg transforms into a place where history and the supernatural converge. The phantom cannon fire rolls across the hills. The disembodied voices of soldiers call out into the wind, and shadowy figures appear and disappear like echoes from another time. It is a haunting reminder of the human cost of war, a space where courage, fear, and loss remain palpable, and a location where the spirits of Vicksburg's fallen soldiers may never truly rest. In this quiet, eerie stillness, visitors are left with the undeniable sense that some battles, though long over, continue to live on, not in memory alone, but in the lingering presence of those who endured them and never truly left the battlefield. Stuckey's Bridge, near Enterprise, Mississippi, is a place where history and legend meet in the most chilling way. Spanning a quiet river beneath a canopy of oaks and Spanish moss, the bridge today may seem calm, even picturesque, but the stories that surround it are anything but peaceful. For over a century, locals have whispered of the murderous innkeeper, Stuckey, whose greed and cruelty left an indelible mark on the region. According to legend, Stuckey lured unsuspecting travelers to his inn with promises of food, shelter, and rest, only to rob them and, if they resisted, murder them. Their bodies were said to be disposed of in the river that flows beneath the bridge, leaving the area stained with unspeakable acts. Over time, the tale of Stuckey transformed into one of ghostly terror. Many believe that the innkeeper never truly left the scene of his crimes. His spirit is said to remain bound to the bridge, a restless and malevolent presence that appears most often at night. Sightings of the ghostly figure are numerous and chilling. Some describe a man pacing the bridge with a lantern, the light flickering as if caught between this world and the next. Others report seeing a headless figure suspended from a phantom noose. Those who claim to witness these apparitions often feel an overwhelming sense of dread, as if the spirit is aware of their presence and intent on reminding them of the darkness that once unfolded there. The experiences at Stuckey's Bridge are not limited to visual phenomena. Many visitors describe sudden drops in temperature, a chilling breeze that seems to come from nowhere, and the sensation of being watched. Footsteps echo along the wooden planks, yet no one else is present. Some people report hearing the metallic clang of chains, the jangle of coins, or whispers carried on the wind, all reminders of the innkeeper's greed and the terror he inflicted in life. Occasionally, the lantern held by the ghost seems to appear on its own, swinging in the darkness or hovering along the bridge before vanishing without a trace. The atmosphere surrounding the bridge is naturally eerie. The river below moves quietly, reflecting the shadows of the trees overhead, while the twisted limbs of oak trees create long, dark silhouettes across the planks. Fog often rolls in from the water at night, cloaking the bridge in an otherworldly glow and making it difficult to distinguish the living from the dead. Those who venture there after sunset frequently report the most intense experiences, as though the combination of darkness, mist, and history allows the past to seep into the present. Paranormal enthusiasts and investigators have long been drawn to Stuckey's Bridge. They often set up cameras, audio recorders, and other equipment in hopes of capturing evidence of the haunting. Some claim to have recorded unexplained footsteps, low groans, or faint voices, while others report orbs of light floating above the bridge or the brief appearance of shadowy figures. Skeptics argue that wind, animals, or the imagination could account for these occurrences. Yet the consistency of reports across generations and from different witnesses gives weight to the legend. Local lore has ensured that the story of Stuckey's Bridge endures. Parents warn children to stay away, and visitors approach with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. The legend has become part of the identity of Enterprise itself, a reminder of the dangers of greed, violence, and the lingering power of unresolved acts. It is said that the chains and lanterns of the spectral innkeeper will forever mark the bridge, a permanent link between past and present, life and death. Whether the ghost of Stuckey truly walks the bridge or the mind conjures visions in the darkness, the fear and fascination surrounding the site remain undeniable. The bridge stands as a monument to history, legend, and the supernatural, a place where the past refuses to remain buried, where the river carries more than just water, and where the spirit of a murderous innkeeper may never rest. Visitors leave with a mix of awe and terror, knowing they have glimpsed a story that continues to haunt the land, echoing through the fog and shadows of Stuckey's Bridge long after they have gone. The old Capitol Museum in Jackson, Mississippi, stands as an imposing testament to the state's history, both triumphant and tragic. Constructed in 1839 in the Greek Revival style, the building has witnessed decades of political maneuvering, landmark legislation, and public discourse. Its grand rotunda, elegant columns, and sweeping staircases evoke the power and prestige of a bygone era. Yet beneath the polished floors and ornate plasterwork lies a legacy of events and emotions so intense that some say they have left a lingering mark on the building itself. For decades, staff, visitors, and paranormal investigators have reported a series of unexplained phenomena: footsteps echoing in empty halls, shadowy figures drifting through the rotunda, and whispers that seem to emanate from nowhere. The old Capitol has a storied past, serving as the seat of Mississippi's government until 1903. Over the years, it has been a stage for countless speeches, debates, and political battles, some of which ended in bitter conflicts and personal tragedy. Many believe that the weight of these emotions, ambition, anger, grief, and fear, has somehow imprinted itself upon the structure, creating a spectral residue that persists to this day. Employees who spend long hours in the building often report feeling watched or sensing a presence in areas where no one else is present. These sensations are especially pronounced in the rotunda, the architectural heart of the building, where echoes seem to linger unnaturally long and shadows move with subtle, inexplicable intent. Visitors frequently describe hearing footsteps that do not match any human activity. In some cases, the sound of shoes clicking on marble or wooden floors will follow them through corridors, even when no one else is in the building. One security guard recounted walking from an empty office toward the rotunda late at night. only to hear a sequence of deliberate steps approaching from the opposite side. When he turned, no one was there, yet the steps continued, fading slowly as if the walker had passed through the walls. Others report similar experiences, describing rhythmic pacing that begins and ends without any visible source, as though invisible politicians or officials are continuing routines from the past. Shadowy figures are another commonly reported phenomenon. Staff and visitors alike have seen dark forms, gliding through hallways or standing briefly at the top of staircases before vanishing. Some witnesses describe these figures as human-shaped silhouettes, while others report more ambiguous shapes, fleeting and difficult to define. The rotunda is often the focal point for these sightings, with many claiming that the shadows seem to gather there, moving in patterns that suggest awareness and purpose. In some cases, the figures are perceived as observing, watching those who move through the building with an unsettling stillness that feels almost sentient. Whispers and murmurs add another layer to the building's eerie reputation. Staff have reported hearing conversations in the distance when no one else is present. These voices often seem to come from empty galleries or offices, faint and indistinct, yet unmistakably human. Occasionally, visitors claim to hear their names called, or fragments of dialogue referencing politics, conflict, or debate, remnants of conversations that may have occurred decades or even centuries ago. The whispers are often accompanied by sudden chills, a tightening of the air, or the sensation of a presence lingering nearby, enhancing the sense of otherworldly activity. Some of the more unnerving experiences involve physical sensations. Guests and staff have felt sudden touches, brushes of air, or even gentle tugs at clothing when alone. One museum docent recalled pausing in a gallery when she felt a pressure on her shoulder, as though someone were guiding her toward a particular exhibit. When she turned, the space was empty, yet the sensation lingered, leaving her with an unshakable awareness that she was not alone. These occurrences are rarely threatening, but they are persistent. Subtle reminders that the old Capitol Museum is a space where the past continues to resonate. The building's architecture itself seems to amplify these phenomena. High ceilings, domed rotundas, and long hallways create natural acoustics, allowing sounds to carry and linger. Yet witnesses insist that what they hear and see cannot be explained by mere acoustics or structural quirks. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences consistently points to the presence of entities or energies beyond the living, often linked to the building's intense historical significance. Paranormal investigators have documented unexplained shadows on video, strange EVP recordings, and anomalous temperature fluctuations, adding to the building's reputation as one of Mississippi's most haunted historic sites. The history of political triumph and tragedy seems to imbue the building with its unique energy. Laws passed, speeches delivered, and conflicts waged within these walls left an emotional imprint that some believe has crystallized into lingering spirits. The rotunda, where legislators once gathered to debate and make decisions of great consequence, appears to be the epicenter of activity. Visitors often sense a presence watching from the balcony or lingering near the doors, as if the ghosts of those who once wielded power are reluctant to leave the stage they once dominated. For those who explore the old Capitol Museum today, the experience is a blend of awe and unease. The beauty and historical significance of the building are undeniable, but the subtle, persistent signs of paranormal activity serve as a reminder that history is not always confined to the pages of a book. Footsteps echo down empty halls, shadows drift through galleries, and whispers of long-past debates float through the air, creating an atmosphere where the past feels alive and present. Whether the experiences are manifestations of residual energy, restless spirits, or the mind's response to the weight of history, one thing is certain: the old Capitol Museum is more than a building. It is a living monument to Mississippi's political heritage, a place where the echoes of triumph, tragedy, and human ambition continue to resonate. For those who walk its halls, it is impossible to escape the feeling that the past is watching, listening, and waiting, silently reminding visitors that some histories refuse to remain buried. echoing instead through the very walls of the old Capitol. Onkuka Mansion in Vicksburg, Mississippi, is a striking example of antebellum elegance. Its grand Greek Revival architecture and sweeping verandas reflecting a time of wealth, refinement, and Southern sophistication. Built in 1830, the mansion's name, derived from a Chickasaw word meaning happy home, was meant to convey comfort and prosperity. Visitors admire its high ceilings, ornate moldings, and expansive rooms, imagining the lively gatherings and genteel routines of its early residents. Yet, beneath this polished beauty lies a layer of mystery and spectral activity that has intrigued and unsettled generations of guests. Onkuka is not only celebrated for its historical charm, it is also known for the ghostly presence that haunts its halls. For decades, guests and staff have reported sightings of a woman dressed in 19th-century attire, gliding silently through the rooms. She is often seen alone, moving with deliberate grace, pausing momentarily as if attending to some long-forgotten task. Some visitors describe catching glimpses of her at the edge of their vision, only to have her vanish when they turn to face her directly. Others have seen her reflected in mirrors or standing near doorways, pale and ethereal, as though suspended between the past and the present. The accounts are consistent. A solitary woman in period clothing, her demeanor calm yet solemn, appearing without warning and disappearing just as mysteriously. Accompanying these sightings is the unmistakable scent of roses, often appearing when no flowers are present. Guests have reported entering a room to find the air perfumed with a delicate fragrance, only to have it vanish moments later. The rose scent is described as sweet, subtle, and nostalgic, evoking a sense of beauty tinged with melancholy. For some, it is comforting. For others, the sudden and unexplained appearance of the fragrance adds to the haunting experience, reinforcing the notion that Onkuka is a place where the past is never entirely at rest. Physical sensations often accompany the sightings. Visitors have felt a light brush of air or the faint touch of a gown against their arm when walking through certain rooms. One guest recalled pausing in a parlor, only to feel the presence of someone standing behind her. Turning slowly, she glimpsed the ghostly figure before it faded into thin air, leaving only the lingering scent of roses. Housekeepers and staff have reported similar experiences. Feeling the subtle pressure of an invisible hand or hearing the soft rustle of fabric in rooms that appear empty, these gentle interactions create an uncanny sense that the mansion is alive with memories and energy from a bygone era. The mansion's architecture enhances the haunting atmosphere. Long hallways, high ceilings, and polished floors amplify sounds and shadows, creating natural spaces for the supernatural to manifest. Creaking floorboards, whispers carried through empty corridors, and the occasional unexplained chill contribute to the eerie feeling of being watched or followed. Photographs taken in the house sometimes reveal faint, unexplained shapes, and audio recordings have captured subtle, unidentifiable noises, lending further credibility to the accounts of ghostly activity. Onkuka's history adds depth to its spectral reputation. The mansion has survived nearly 2 centuries, witnessing both prosperity and hardship. While the identity of the ghostly woman remains unknown, some speculate that she was a former resident whose life ended tragically or prematurely. Others suggest she may have been a servant, a member of the household, whose presence remained intimately tied to the mansion's daily routines. Regardless of her origins, her continued appearances serve as a connection to the lives and stories that unfolded within Onkuka's walls. For visitors exploring the mansion today, the experience is a combination of beauty, history, and subtle terror. Evening tours and quiet afternoons often intensify the sense of the supernatural. Shadows stretch across polished floors, the scent of roses drifts from one room to another, and the feeling of being observed lingers just beyond sight. The mansion becomes a space where the elegance of the past coexists with the mystery of the unseen, creating an immersive experience that is as haunting as it is fascinating. Onkuka Mansion remains a symbol of Southern refinement and history, but it is also a place where the past is palpably present. The ghostly woman, her silent movements, and delicate rose fragrance reminds visitors that history is not always confined to stories or artifacts. Her presence endures in the hallways, parlors, and bedrooms, bridging centuries and offering a haunting glimpse into the lives once lived within this grand home. Guests leave with the awareness that Onkuka's elegance carries not only the beauty of its architecture, but the enduring spirit of those who never truly left, a subtle and eternal reminder that some histories are impossible to forget. Glenwood Cemetery in Yazoo City, Mississippi, is a place steeped in history, mystery, and chilling legend. Established in the 19th century, the cemetery serves as the final resting place for generations of local families, soldiers, and community figures. Tombstones weathered by time, and monuments that tell stories of lives long past. Among these graves, one attracts particular attention and fear: the grave of the so-called Witch of Yazoo, a woman whose name has been lost to history, but whose legend has endured for well over a century. The story begins in the early 1800s, when the woman, whose real name remains uncertain, lived in Yazoo City. Locals whispered that she possessed unnatural abilities, claiming she could predict the future, manipulate events, or curse those who wronged her. Her skills were feared as much as they were misunderstood. In a time of superstition and suspicion, such claims were enough to turn neighbors against her. Eventually, she was accused of witchcraft, a charge that in those days was enough to seal one's fate. The townspeople, gripped by fear and anger, took the law into their own hands. She was tried in a makeshift court, condemned, and executed. But before her death, legend has it that she made a final, terrifying promise that one day she would rise again. And when she did, she would set fire to the town that had condemned her. Her grave is unique in Glenwood Cemetery. Unlike the simple headstone surrounding it, hers is bound by heavy iron chains, wrapped across the stone and locked in place. Locals say that the chains were added not as a memorial, but as a safeguard, a barrier meant to keep her spirit contained. The image of the chained grave has become iconic, and it serves as a warning to those who dare to approach. Many visitors report an overwhelming sense of unease when near her tomb, a feeling of being watched or followed by unseen eyes. The air seems heavier, and some claim to hear faint whispers or laughter that cannot be explained by natural sounds. One of the most enduring aspects of the legend is the idea that the chains themselves are not permanent. Stories abound of chains breaking without apparent cause, leaving onlookers panicked and fearful. According to lore, if the chains ever fail, the Witch of Yazoo will rise, her rage unbound, and set the town ablaze as she promised. The tale is reinforced by generations of oral storytelling, each retelling adding small details, flickers of shadow, a sudden gust of wind, or the chilling sound of laughter echoing through the cemetery at night. Residents of Yazoo City have grown up with the story, often warning children never to linger near Glenwood Cemetery after dark. Visitors to the cemetery describe encounters that range from subtle to profoundly unsettling. Some feel sudden cold spots near the chained grave, as if a spirit has passed through. Others report the sensation of a presence pressing close, almost brushing against them. Yet, when they turn, no one is there. Shadows often seem to flicker in the corner of the eye, vanishing the moment they are directly observed. Occasionally, the sound of chains rattling in the still night air is reported, though the iron bindings remain firmly in place upon inspection. These phenomena have kept the legend alive, a constant reminder that some promises, even from beyond the grave, may carry consequences. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to Glenwood Cemetery, intrigued by the combination of tangible history and supernatural lore. Nighttime visits often involve audio recording devices, EMF meters, and cameras, all set up near the Witch of Yazoo's tomb. Investigators claim to capture unexplained anomalies, faint whispers that seem to call out names, sudden drops in temperature, and irregular light orbs hovering near the grave. While skeptics argue these could be explained by wind, animal activity, or optical illusions, the consistency of the reports over decades fuels the legend and gives the Witch of Yazoo a chilling credibility in the eyes of believers. The surrounding cemetery amplifies the haunting atmosphere, Twisted oaks, their branches heavy with moss, create long shadows that stretch across the paths in the moonlight. Weathered tombstones lean and tilt, engraved names obscured by time. It is within this eerie setting that the Witch of Yazoo's tomb exerts its psychological pull. Even those visiting in daylight report an uncomfortable awareness, a prickling sensation that they are not alone, that unseen eyes are tracking their movements among the graves. The combination of natural eeriness and supernatural lore creates an experience both thrilling and terrifying. Over the years, the tale of the Witch of Yazoo has become woven into the identity of Yazoo City itself. Locals speak of her with a mixture of fear, respect, and fascination, passing the story from generation to generation. The legend serves as both a cautionary tale about the dangers of superstition and mob mentality, and as a thrilling ghost story that continues to capture the imagination of visitors from near and far. For those who wander, Glenwood Cemetery, the chained grave, stands as the centerpiece of a story that refuses to die. The Witch of Yazoo remains an eternal figure of warning and intrigue, a symbol of vengeance, supernatural power, and the mysterious forces that some believe linger long after death. The legend persists, a chilling reminder that certain spirits, once angered, may never truly rest. To approach her tomb is to confront history, myth, and fear all at once, to feel the weight of generations of stories, and to wonder whether one day, if the chains were to break, the Witch of Yazoo's promise would finally be fulfilled. The Old Courthouse Museum in Vicksburg, Mississippi, stands as a striking relic of 19th century architecture and Southern history. Constructed in 1858, this Greek Revival courthouse once presided over trials, disputes, and deliberations that shaped the lives of the local community. Its grand columns, high ceilings, and ornate courtroom reflect a period when law and order were maintained with strict discipline and decorum. Today, the building serves as a museum, preserving artifacts, documents, and exhibits that tell the story of Vicksburg and the surrounding region. Yet beneath its historical significance and polished displays lies a reputation for the paranormal, where ghostly judges, Confederate soldiers, and the echo of unseen gavels continue to haunt its hallways. Visitors and staff alike report encounters that defy rational explanation. One of the most common phenomena is the sound of footsteps in the empty hallways. Long after the museum closes and lights are turned off, people claim to hear the deliberate, measured pace of someone walking across the polished floors. The sound often echoes as if multiple individuals are moving at once, sometimes in the rhythm of a courtroom march, and then abruptly stops without warning. Those who have experienced it report an immediate chill, a feeling of presence that is both oppressive and commanding, reminiscent of a judge patrolling the corridors in life. The courthouse's main courtroom is frequently cited as the epicenter of supernatural activity. Visitors have described hearing the distinct strike of a gavel echoing off the high ceilings, even when the room is empty and all exhibits are undisturbed. Some claim to feel an unseen authority in the space, as if the spirit of a judge is overseeing proceedings that will never occur. Shadows sometimes move across the walls, forming vague silhouettes of figures standing behind the bench or pacing the aisles. In rare cases, witnesses have reported seeing fully formed apparitions of men in period attire, their robes flowing and faces stern, disappearing as quickly as they appear. Confederate soldiers are another recurring presence. The museum, located in a city that endured one of the Civil War's most brutal sieges, was in proximity to hospitals, camps, and battlegrounds. Some visitors have reported the faint clink of military boots, the low murmur of marching orders, and the smell of gunpowder lingering in the air. In one instance, a tour guide described walking through a hallway when she felt a sudden draft, followed by the sensation of being brushed past by someone invisible. Turning quickly, she glimpsed a shadowy figure in a Confederate uniform vanish around the corner. Others have heard ghostly voices chanting names or giving commands, as if soldiers from the past are still performing their duties within the confines of the old courthouse. Doors and furniture are often involved in the strange occurrences. Doors may swing open or close on their own, and cabinets or display cases occasionally shift slightly, as though an invisible hand has moved them. Staff members report hearing drawers being opened and closed when no one is nearby. And some visitors have felt the unmistakable pressure of a presence behind them, as if someone is guiding them through the museum without physically touching them. These subtle interactions create an unsettling atmosphere, where the ordinary becomes charged with a sense of vigilance and history coming alive. The acoustics of the courthouse amplify these experiences. High ceilings, wooden floors, and long hallways create natural echoes. Yet the phenomena often occur in ways that seem impossible to explain by architecture alone. Gavels strike with perfect clarity, footsteps are distinct and deliberate, and whispers are often recorded clearly in empty rooms. Paranormal investigators have documented these occurrences using audio and video equipment, capturing unexplained sounds, shadows, and temperature fluctuations. While skeptics suggest drafts, creaking floors, or the imagination of visitors, the consistency and detail of the reports lend credibility to the notion that the old courthouse museum is a place where the past refuses to stay buried. The history of Vicksburg itself contributes to the haunting. The city endured immense suffering during the Civil War, particularly during the siege of 1863, when lives were lost and entire families were displaced. The courthouse, as a center of local governance and justice, witnessed both triumphs and tragedies. Trials of murder, theft, and civil disputes often ended in harsh sentences or heated confrontations, leaving strong emotional imprints on the building. Some believe these intense energies have persisted, manifesting as ghostly judges, soldiers, and other figures who continued to occupy the courthouse in spectral form. Visitors to the old courthouse museum often describe a dual experience: the fascination of history and the thrill of encountering the unexplained. Walking through the empty hallways at dusk or during after-hours tours heightens the sense of the supernatural. Shadows appear to flicker along the walls, footsteps echo from corners, and the occasional sound of a gavel punctuates the silence. The combination of architecture, historical resonance, and reported paranormal activity creates an immersive environment where the past and present coexist in ways that are both unsettling and compelling. The museum's staff, many of whom have worked there for decades, have become accustomed to the unusual activity. While some treat it with casual acceptance, others approach their work with a mixture of respect and caution, aware that they are caretakers not only of artifacts but of the lingering presence of those who once occupied the building. Longtime employees report feeling watched while cataloging items, hearing whispers near exhibit cases, or sensing an invisible hand brush past while moving objects. Visitors often leave with similar stories, recounting the moment they felt the weight of history press against them in an almost tangible way. The Old Courthouse Museum in Vicksburg stands as more than a repository of history. It is a space where the past is actively present. The spectral judges, the ghostly Confederate soldiers, and the echoing gavel strikes serve as reminders that some places retain the emotional and historical energy of those who lived and died within them. For those who walk its halls, the experience is unforgettable, a blend of history, mystery, and the supernatural, where the echoes of justice, duty, and tragedy continue to reverberate long after the court has adjourned. The Carrollton Courthouse in Carrollton, Mississippi, is more than a symbol of law and governance. It is a building steeped in tragedy, history, and lingering spirits. Constructed in the 19th century, the courthouse once served as the hub of community life, hosting trials, civic gatherings, and public events. Its brick facade, high ceilings, and spacious courtrooms reflected the pride and stability of a growing town. Yet, beneath its dignified exterior lies a haunting legacy that has persisted for generations. A legacy tied to a devastating fire that claimed many lives and left an indelible mark on the building itself. The fire occurred during the height of the 19th century, sweeping through the courthouse with shocking speed. Flames engulfed wooden floors and staircases, consuming records, furniture, and personal belongings as terrified residents attempted to rescue those trapped inside. Dozens of people perished, their cries lost to the roar of the blaze. The tragedy left the town reeling, and the courthouse, though rebuilt and restored, retained the memory of that horrific night. Local legend holds that the fire left an imprint not only on the building's structure, but on the very air within its walls. A spectral echo of the panic, fear, and sorrow that unfolded within its rooms. Visitors to the courthouse have long reported strange occurrences that defy logical explanation. Many describe hearing the anguished screams of fire victims, sharp and sudden, echoing through empty hallways. These auditory phenomena are often accompanied by a faint, acrid scent of smoke that seems to linger in certain rooms. Even though modern renovations and ventilation systems leave no source, the combination of sound and scent creates a visceral reminder of the fire, as if the building itself is replaying the trauma that occurred decades ago. Footsteps are another common occurrence. Guests frequently report hearing hurried, irregular steps echoing across floors when no one else is present. Some describe the sound of running or stumbling footsteps, followed by distant voices, soft and desperate, as though the victims are still searching for escape. Doors sometimes creak open or slam shut without explanation, and furniture or small objects appear to shift on their own, enhancing the feeling that the courthouse is inhabited by unseen presences. Witnesses often note that these events are more pronounced during the evening hours when the building is quiet, giving the sense that the spirits prefer the stillness of night to make themselves known. The courthouse's architecture amplifies its haunting reputation. Its long corridors, high ceilings, and wooden floors carry sound in ways that make even ordinary noises unsettling. Shadows stretch across walls in dim light, creating the illusion of movement where there is none. Visitors have reported fleeting glimpses of figures near staircases or in hallways, sometimes disappearing when approached, leaving only a cold chill in their wake. These visual phenomena, paired with the auditory experiences, reinforce the idea that the Carrollton Courthouse is more than just a historical building. It is a place where past and present converge in eerie and sometimes unsettling ways. Paranormal enthusiasts have long been drawn to the courthouse in search of evidence. Audio recordings occasionally capture whispers, distant screams, or the sound of unseen footsteps, while photographs sometimes reveal shadowy shapes in areas that appear empty. While skeptics attribute these occurrences to imagination, old floorboards, or environmental factors, the consistency of reports across decades makes it difficult to dismiss the courthouse's reputation entirely. The haunting is persistent, subtle, and convincing enough to attract attention from both the curious and the cautious. Some visitors describe sudden drops in temperature or localized cold spots within the building, often near areas associated with the fire. These chills, combined with the feeling of being watched, create a palpable sense of presence. One account recalls a tour group paused in the main courtroom when the air grew inexplicably cold, accompanied by a distant, echoing cry. Guests felt an oppressive weight, as though the history of the courthouse was pressing upon them, reminding them of the lives lost and the tragedy that unfolded. The fire that doomed so many in the 19th century left more than physical scars. It created a lasting spiritual imprint. Those who died in the blaze are believed to have been trapped in the courthouse's memory, unable to move on. Their cries, footsteps, and shadows serve as both a warning and a reminder of the fragility of life, especially in an era when fire safety was minimal and buildings were made largely of wood. The Carrollton Courthouse stands as a vessel of these memories, a place where history, loss, and the supernatural intersect in ways that are hauntingly tangible. Visitors leave the courthouse with a profound awareness that they have walked through more than just a historic building. The echoes of screams, the faint scent of smoke, and the feeling of unseen eyes create an immersive experience that blurs the line between history and haunting. The Carrollton Courthouse is not merely a structure of brick and timber. It is a repository for the souls of those who perished, a place where the past continues to assert its presence, and a haunting reminder of the human stories forever entwined with its walls. Even today, long after the flames have been extinguished and the courthouse restored, the building carries the echoes of that tragic night. The combination of history, architecture, and the inexplicable ensures that Carrollton Courthouse remains a site of fascination, fear, and lingering mystery. A place where the past is never truly silent, and where those who died in fire continue to make themselves known in whispers, shadows, and spectral presence. The Biloxi Lighthouse, standing tall along the Gulf Coast of Mississippi since 1848, is one of the region's most iconic landmarks. Its cast-iron structure has guided countless ships safely to shore over more than a century and a half, weathering storms, hurricanes, and the relentless tide of time. Yet, beyond its practical purpose as a beacon for sailors, the lighthouse holds a darker, more mysterious legacy, one that has drawn paranormal enthusiasts and curious visitors for decades. Stories persist of a ghostly lighthouse keeper who continues to patrol the spiraling staircase, lantern in hand, ensuring that his post is never abandoned, even in death. The legend begins with the lighthouse's early years, built to guide ships past the treacherous sands and shifting currents of Biloxi Bay. The lighthouse required constant attention. Keepers lived in a small, adjacent home, maintaining the light and watching for storms, shipwrecks, and emergencies. One keeper, whose name has faded from memory but whose presence has not, reportedly died while performing his duties. Some accounts suggest he perished in a violent storm, while others claim his death was due to an accident on the spiral staircase, a place that would become central to the hauntings that followed. Visitors and locals alike report eerie experiences when approaching the lighthouse after dark. The most consistent and chilling accounts involve the sound of footsteps echoing along the metal staircase, the slow, deliberate pace of someone ascending and descending despite the absence of anyone inside. Some have described the faint glow of a lantern, bobbing as if carried by an invisible hand. The light is soft but unmistakable, casting elongated shadows that stretch along the lighthouse walls and windows. Those who witness it often feel a mixture of awe and trepidation, as though the keeper continues his duty from beyond the grave, ensuring that no ship is ever left to drift aimlessly. The staircase itself seems to amplify the haunting. Constructed of metal and steeped in history, its steps creak and moan in the wind, creating natural sounds that could easily be mistaken for a living presence. Yet, multiple witnesses have reported that the footsteps follow patterns impossible to attribute solely to the building's age or acoustics. They speak of pauses at landings, moments when the air grows inexplicably cold, and a sensation that someone is watching them from above, even when the stairs are empty. These experiences suggest that the lighthouse is not only haunted by memory, but by the persistent consciousness of a man devoted to his post. Auditory phenomena are another common report. Visitors have described hearing the faint clink of the keeper's keys, the low murmur of a voice calling out to ships in distress, and the metallic scrape of a lantern swinging in the unseen wind. Some have even claimed to hear urgent whispers, warning them away from the edge of the spiral staircase, or cautioning them against venturing too close to the lighthouse during stormy nights. These sounds, subtle yet distinct, create an immersive atmosphere that blurs the line between past and present, life and death. The lighthouse's exterior also contributes to its spectral reputation. On foggy evenings, a figure has been seen standing at the top balcony, staring out over the Gulf as though scanning the horizon for approaching vessels. The apparition is described as tall, wearing the traditional uniform of a 19th-century keeper, with a lantern held high. Witnesses report that the figure often vanishes when approached, leaving only the distant sound of footsteps descending the staircase. Some locals claim that the ghost is protective rather than menacing, a sentinel of the coast who continues to guard both the waters and the lighthouse itself. Storms, in particular, seem to awaken the lighthouse's ghost. During hurricane season or violent thunderstorms, visitors have reported seeing the lantern swing from the top balcony, hearing frantic footsteps on the stairs, and feeling sudden cold drafts that cut through the air like the gusts from the Gulf outside. The timing of these occurrences has led many to speculate that the keeper's spirit is drawn to danger, responding to conditions that would threaten the ships he once guided. In this way, the haunting is not merely a relic of the past, but an active presence, interacting with the environment and demonstrating an ongoing devotion to duty. Paranormal investigations have sought to capture evidence of the haunting, often recording unexplained sounds, shadows, and temperature fluctuations. Photographs occasionally show faint figures at the top of the staircase, and audio equipment has picked up footsteps and murmurs when no one else is present. Skeptics attribute the activity to old architecture, the wind, or imagination. Yet the consistency and specificity of reports over decades make the legend of the Biloxi Lighthouse Keeper difficult to dismiss entirely. The story of the Biloxi Lighthouse ghost combines history, duty, and the supernatural in a way that is both haunting and poignant. Visitors to the lighthouse leave with the sense that they have glimpsed a spirit bound by loyalty, a man who cannot abandon his post even in death. The creaking stairs, the faint glow of a lantern, and the echoing footsteps serve as a reminder that some roles, some commitments, and some histories are eternal. Even today, standing beneath the lighthouse or climbing its metal spiral stairs, one may feel the quiet presence of the long-departed keeper. His lantern may appear in the corner of a window, a soft creak may sound overhead, or a cold draft may brush past uninvited. The Biloxi Lighthouse is more than a beacon for ships. It is a beacon for memory, devotion, and the mysterious persistence of those who refuse to be forgotten. In its silent vigil over the Gulf, the lighthouse continues its haunting, a sentinel of both the living and the dead. The Iola Hotel in Natchez, Mississippi, has stood silently for years. Its once grand facade, a reminder of an era when it welcomed travelers, socialites, and dignitaries. Built during a period of economic growth and architectural flourish, the hotel was known for its elegance, luxury, and impeccable service. Guests would arrive from across the region, expecting comfort, fine dining, and an experience befitting the southern charm of Natchez. Yet, behind its polished doors and ornate balconies, the Iola Hotel has earned a reputation far darker than any travel brochure could convey. Though closed for many years, it is said to be haunted by former guests who, for reasons unknown, never left. Those who pass the hotel after nightfall often feel an inexplicable pull toward its windows. Lights flicker intermittently, creating the illusion that the building is occupied despite its long closure. Some claim to see shadowy figures moving behind the glass, their silhouettes barely visible but unmistakably human. Faces appear momentarily, a fleeting gaze from someone long gone, only to vanish when approached. The sight is eerie and captivating, leaving witnesses with the unsettling impression that the hotel is still very much alive, albeit with inhabitants from another time. Inside the hotel, if one dares to enter despite warnings, the atmosphere is dense with history and unseen activity. Reports describe cold spots that seem to drift through hallways, the sensation of being followed by invisible presences, and the faint, lingering scent of perfume and cigar smoke. Visitors have claimed to hear footsteps on creaking floors above them, whispers of conversations, and the clink of glasses as if a ballroom reception were still underway. The building appears to replay its past, creating a bridge between the vibrant life it once hosted and the spectral echoes that remain. The most persistent legend involves guests who never checked out. It is said that certain rooms are inhabited by spirits who continue the routines they followed in life, opening doors, sitting by windows, and watching the world pass by outside. Witnesses report sudden drafts, the sound of doors gently closing, and the feeling that someone unseen is observing their every move. Some have even claimed to hear laughter and the faint strains of piano music coming from empty spaces, as though the hotel's grand parlor were hosting an invisible gathering. The windows of the Iola Hotel have become particularly famous among paranormal enthusiasts. Many have observed what appear to be faces peering out at them, eyes tracking their movements before disappearing entirely. Others have described lights turning on and off in empty rooms in patterns too deliberate to be electrical glitches. These phenomena contribute to the sense that the building itself is conscious, aware of those who approach, and unwilling to let go of the lives it once sheltered. The combination of visual and auditory manifestations has made the hotels a focal point for local ghost stories and late-night explorations. Some theories suggest that the haunting stems from unfinished business or unresolved tragedy. The hotel, in its prime, was a place where countless travelers passed through, some leaving behind memories, emotions, or attachments. In the realm of folklore and paranormal study, buildings often retain the emotional energy of those who lived or died within their walls. In the case of the Ola, it seems as if the memories of its guests and staff have been imprinted into the very structure, manifesting in forms visible to those who are sensitive to such energies. The result is a haunting that is both personal and pervasive, a lingering presence that refuses to fade despite years of abandonment. The physical structure of the Iola Hotel amplifies its haunted reputation. Its multiple floors, long hallways, and expansive windows create natural spaces for shadows, echoes, and reflections that can appear ghostly. Ornate staircases, once used by well-dressed patrons and socialites, now creak under invisible footsteps. Even the furniture, though dusty and untouched, seems to hold the memory of use, as if ready for guests who will never arrive. The architectural elegance that once made the hotel appealing now contributes to its eerie, timeless quality. Witnesses often leave with a sense of awe mixed with unease. The Iola Hotel is not known for malicious activity. Rather, its spirits seem intent on continuing their existence as it was in life. The flickering lights, the faces in the windows, the ghostly sounds, all suggest a building suspended between past and present. A place where time is fluid and the memories of the departed endure. Some locals say that those who enter the hotel after dark are granted a rare glimpse into history, an encounter with lives that once intersected in this grand southern landmark. Even in its current state of disuse, the Iola Hotel continues to captivate the imagination. Its presence in Natchez is a reminder that history is not always silent, that buildings carry the energy of those who lived within them, and that some guests may never truly leave. The flickering lights, the shadowy forms, and the ephemeral faces serve as proof that the hotel is more than brick and mortar. It is a living archive of human experience, memory, and the subtle, undeniable touch of the supernatural. The Iola Hotel stands as a testament to both the passage of time and the persistence of the past. Its windows and hallways, though empty of the living, are filled with echoes, shadows, and the continuing presence of those who never checked out. Visitors and passers-by alike are drawn into its silent stories, reminded that even in abandonment, some places never truly rest, and that the Iola Hotel remains forever haunted, alive with the spirits of its former guests. Hope, an antebellum mansion located in Meridian, Mississippi, stands as a testament to both Southern elegance and enduring mystery. Built in the 19th century, it has withstood the trials of war, fire, and time, emerging as a symbol of resilience and history. Yet behind its stately columns, ornate woodwork, and expansive gardens lies a secret far more haunting than any battle scars or scorched walls. For generations, the mansion has been whispered to house spirits, spectral residents whose presence is felt long after the sun has set. Visitors to Hope often describe a sensation of being watched, an invisible awareness that seems to follow them from room to room. Among the most commonly reported apparitions is that of a woman in white, drifting silently through the halls as though retracing steps from a lifelong past. The mansion's history contributes heavily to its haunted reputation. During the Civil War, Hope, like many Southern homes, became entwined in the conflict. Soldiers passed through its halls, seeking shelter or commandeering rooms, leaving behind both physical and emotional imprints. Following the war, the house endured fires and periods of neglect, yet it remained a symbol of opulence and refinement for Meridian. Each chapter of turmoil seems to have left a residual presence, a spiritual echo that has refused to fade with time. Guests report that these presences are not malevolent, but they are undeniable, a reminder that the mansion carries its past within its walls. The woman in white is the most frequently cited spirit. Described as wearing a flowing early 19th century gown, she appears pale and translucent, moving gracefully through hallways and sitting rooms as though trapped in a private reverie. Witnesses often notice her standing near windows or doorways, sometimes pausing as if to observe the living intruders in her home. The figure rarely interacts with visitors, but her presence is unmistakable, accompanied by a sense of calm sorrow, a quiet melancholy that seems to resonate from the very walls. Some have speculated that she may have been a member of the family, a former resident whose life was cut short or whose soul never left the mansion. Others believe she could be a visitor, one of the many who may have perished within Mayhope's long history, now forever wandering its halls. Beyond visual apparitions, the mansion is known for its auditory phenomena. Guests report the sound of soft footsteps following them across hardwood floors, the creaking of doors opening and closing of their own accord, and whispers that float faintly through empty rooms. Some visitors claim to hear music, delicate strains of piano or a distant melody, as though the house itself were hosting a ghostly recital. These sounds are often localized, occurring in specific rooms or along hallways that are historically significant, suggesting that the spirits remain tethered to memories of the mansion's past life. The architecture of Mayhope seems to enhance the sense of haunting. Its high ceilings, long corridors, and intricate woodwork create natural acoustics that amplify subtle noises, turning ordinary sounds into chilling echoes. The rooms are filled with antique furniture, heavy curtains, and the remnants of decor from a bygone era, giving the impression that the house is frozen in time. In this atmosphere, fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures, drifting white forms, or the faint outline of a person in a mirror take on a profound sense of reality. Visitors often describe these moments as both mesmerizing and unsettling, a direct connection to the mansion's spectral inhabitants. Some paranormal investigators and historians believe that the intensity of the hauntings at Mayhope is linked to its layered history. The mansion has witnessed joy, tragedy, and violence, from lavish family gatherings to the chaos of war and the devastation of fire. It is thought that the emotional energy of these events has been imprinted onto the building, manifesting in ways that are perceptible to the living. The spirits, it seems, are not seeking to harm anyone, but are instead preserving the memory of the mansion, ensuring that the stories of those who lived and died there remained alive in subtle, haunting ways. Visitors frequently describe feeling an unseen gaze, a weight upon their shoulders, or a chill in the air as they move through certain rooms. Some have claimed to sense a presence standing close behind them, only to find no one there when they turn around. Others have reported that items, such as candles or small objects, seem to shift slightly, as though nudged by an invisible hand. These experiences contribute to the pervasive feeling that Mayhope is more than a historical site. It is a living archive of human experience, a place where the line between past and present, the living and the dead, is thin and permeable. Despite its haunted reputation, or perhaps because of it, Mayhope continues to draw visitors from near and far. Historians, paranormal enthusiasts, and curious tourists alike are drawn to its stately presence, eager to witness the mysterious phenomena that have been reported for generations. The mansion offers a rare opportunity to experience history firsthand, not just through preserved artifacts or guided tours, but through encounters that challenge the senses and leave a lasting impression on the soul. Mayhope's enduring allure lies in its ability to connect the living with the past in profound ways, whether through the ghostly figure of the woman in white, the soft creaking of floors, or the faint strains of music from a long-gone piano. The mansion reminds all who enter that history is not confined to the pages of books. It lives within its walls, in the air, and in the lingering presence of those who never left. The Pascagoula River, winding gracefully through the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, is more than a natural landmark. It is the keeper of a haunting and ancient legend. Locals speak of the Singing River, a mysterious phenomenon where, on calm nights, the water appears to emit a soft, melodic hum that rises and falls like a sorrowful lullaby. Unlike traditional hauntings tied to buildings, this spectral presence is tied to the river itself, a living testament to history, memory, and the voices of those long gone. The legend of the Singing River traces back to the Pascagoula tribe, a Native American people who inhabited the region centuries before European settlers arrived. In the 18th century, facing the threat of conflict with a neighboring tribe, the Pascagoula reportedly chose to avoid battle in a way that has echoed through time. Rather than submit to violence, they are said to have walked into the river, singing as they went, their voices blending into the waters and disappearing forever beneath the surface. The mournful sound of the river, it is said, carries the memory of that final song, a melody of sorrow, bravery, and sacrifice. Locals and travelers alike have reported hearing the singing under specific conditions, on quiet nights, when the air is still and the river's surface is calm. A low hum or wailing sound can emerge, rising from beneath the waves, as though the water itself remembers the voices that were lost. Some describe it as a chorus of faint chanting, a melodic vibration that seems to drift along the riverbanks. Others claim to hear a single voice, clear and sorrowful, echoing across the river, as if the spirit of one of the tribe's members has chosen to remain. These auditory experiences are both haunting and beautiful, a rare phenomenon that blends nature, history, and the supernatural. Witnesses often describe a profound emotional reaction when hearing the river sing. The sound is said to carry a weight of sorrow so intense that it evokes tears, chills, or a sense of awe. Standing on the banks, people report feeling a connection to the past, imagining the Pascagoula as they sang their final song, refusing to be conquered yet accepting their fate. Some say the sensation is almost physical, a vibration through the ground and water that resonates with the listener's very being. The hum is not constant. It appears only under certain conditions, lending the river an air of mystery that is as elusive as it is compelling. Accounts of the singing river have persisted for centuries. French explorers and early settlers documented the phenomenon, noting that the river would sometimes sing at night, producing a sound unlike anything found elsewhere in the region. Some early scientists attempted to explain it as natural vibrations of the water over rocks or the movement of air through reeds. But these explanations failed to capture the consistency of the reports or the emotional resonance described by witnesses. For many, the haunting melody is not merely a physical phenomenon. It is a bridge to the past, an echo of voices lost to history but preserved in the natural world. The river itself seems to enhance the mystery. Its winding course, shaded banks, and reflective waters create an atmosphere of isolation and reverence. Fog often rises from the surface in the early morning or late evening, giving the river an ethereal appearance that complements the legend. Shadows of cypress trees stretch across the water, and the occasional ripple of a fish or movement of the current adds subtle accompaniment to the spectral song. Observers frequently describe the experience as immersive, as though the river itself is a living entity, aware of its history and willing to share it under the right circumstances. Some accounts suggest that the singing river is more than auditory. It is interactive. People have reported feeling subtle vibrations through the ground or the water when the hum is present, as if the voices are communicating through physical sensation. In certain locations along the riverbank, or the melody seems to respond to their presence. This interaction, whether real or perceptual, contributes to the river's reputation as a haunted, sentient place, bridging the natural and supernatural worlds. While the Pascagoula River's haunting is less tangible than that of a house or battlefield, it is no less compelling. The legend continues to attract curiosity, drawing those who seek both natural beauty and the eerie allure of the unexplained. Historians, folklorists, and paranormal enthusiasts alike visit the river to listen for the hum, hoping to catch a fleeting glimpse of the past in sound. Canoeists and fishermen report hearing the singing even when alone, their solitude amplifying the haunting quality of the experience. The river becomes a stage where history, legend, and the supernatural converge in a manner that is deeply personal and profoundly moving. The emotional weight of the legend is amplified by its context. The story of the Pascagoula tribe is one of courage and tragedy, of people choosing an extraordinary fate in the face of inevitable danger. The river, by carrying their song, ensures that their memory endures. Visitors to the river often reflect not only on the sound, but on the human stories behind it, the sorrow, bravery, and dignity of those who walked into the water and sang their final hymn, a living tribute to lives and voices that history might otherwise have forgotten. For those fortunate enough to hear it, the singing river is a haunting and unforgettable experience. The low, melodic hum, the subtle vibrations, and the surrounding natural beauty combine to create a profound connection to the past. It is a reminder that hauntings are not confined to walls, floors, or ceilings. Sometimes they are carried by water, wind, and the echoes of memory. The Pascagoula River, with its spectral melody, offers a glimpse into a world where history, nature, and the supernatural intersect, preserving the voices of a vanished people and the haunting beauty of their final song. Even today, when the waters of the Pascagoula are calm and the night is quiet, locals swear that if you listen closely, you can hear the song of the singing river. A sorrowful, haunting melody drifts across the surface, carrying with it the memory of a tribe, the weight of history, and the eerie, undeniable presence of those who never truly left, their voices forever entwined with the river that witnessed their final act of courage. Mississippi's ghosts are more than just tales to frighten us. They are echoes of a past that refuses to be forgotten. They walk among the living, not just as spirits, but as memories carved into the land itself. Whether you believe in the supernatural or see these stories as folklore, one thing is certain: the Magnolia State has a heartbeat that never stops, even in the stillness of the grave. So next time you find yourself driving down a lonely Mississippi road, or standing in the shadows of an old antebellum mansion, listen closely.